We'll start now. It's 6. Okay. We'll start with the prayers.
Hari Om Mahodaya.
Hari Om. Hari Om. Om. Vakratunda Mahakaya Surya Koti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada. Om Shri Mahaganapataye Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Asmadgurubhyo Namaha. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaya Dakshina Murtaye Namaha Om Shri Medha Dakshina Murti Swamine Namaha Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. So namaste to all those who have just joined. Nice to see many of you. So at the outset, offering our pranams and humble prayers and invoking the blessings of Parameshwara, Ishwara, Lord Medha Dakshinamurti, Lord Mahavishnu, the entire Guru Parampara, most importantly, invoking the blessings of Adi Shankara and my own Guru Swami Dayanand Saraswati and other teachers from whom I have learnt a lot, Swami Sadatmanandaji, Swami Paramathanandaji, Swami Omkaranandaji, and all teachers. I can go on giving a big list. We invoke the blessing of all of them and start the study of Vishnu Sahasranamam with the meanings of all the namas. And for the interpretation of the meanings, as I have already announced, I will be following the commentary or bhashyam of Adi Shankara, and which has been taught by Pujya Swamiji. Swami Omkaranandaji has been teaching it in Tamil for the last almost, I think, 1.5 years now. And this text which I will be following is the text which has been published by this Gita Press Gorakhpur. This is the text which I will be following, right, for interpretation. Those of you who are interested in following the text can buy this copy rather. I don't think it is available as a download, free download in internet. May be available. I have not searched sufficiently, but if you want to follow it, it's a beautiful text, and mostly I will actually touch upon all the commentary, the bhashyam of Adi Shankara. And I think at the outset, for those who are uninitiated, I must mention the word bhashyam. What does it mean? Bhashyam means a commentary on any Vedantic text or any text rather. The bhashyam. Normally it is applied to Vedantic texts. Adi Shankara, since he has written, he first wrote the commentary on Brahma Sutra. And that is why it was such a very popular commentary and such a thorough commentary that he came to be known as the Bhashyakara himself. He got the title of Bhashyakara, the one who is creator of the Bhashyam, because of his commentary on Brahma Sutra. And this title has stuck on with him. So whenever we refer to Bhashyakara, we refer to Adi Shankara. Right? So this Bhashyam actually explains these mantras, these shlokas, Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita. In fact, there's a profound Bhashyam on Bhagavad Gita with Adi Shankara has written. So this explains those shlokas, mantras, each and every word it explains, this Bhashyam. Because the explanation is also in Sanskrit only. The original is in Sanskrit, explanation is also in Sanskrit. But the explanation may be more user friendly Sanskrit, in the sense that we can actually understand what is being said. And more importantly, many of the words in the mantras, they do not convey the literal meaning. There is an implied meaning which convey, many mantras convey, rather, many words convey. So in order to understand what is the implied meaning, this bhashyam becomes very, very important. Without that, some very famous Acharya interpreting that, we will not be able to understand what the mantras say. And many times these mantras and all, they will appear contradicting each other rather. So this bhashyam and all help us in trying to understand how to resolve the contradiction, how to understand these mantras in the sense in which it was conveyed, rather originally either in the Upanishads or Bhagavad Gita and all. And many times we have found that even the bhashyam is not so helpful, because that is also very cryptic. So there are people who are the students of these these acharyas, who have written what they call tika and tippani and all that. So commentary, sub commentary, so many things are there. So if you want to get into all these things, one whole lifetime is insufficient for that. So much material is there. Anyhow, we will follow Shankaracharya's bhashyam, and it's a very simple bhashyam, and those who want to follow it can follow along with me, rather, right? And this bhashyam contains references. So as I was saying, the bhashyam, when the bhashyakara or the anybody who is writing the commentary, when he is explaining a meaning of a particular phrase or a word, he cannot come up with his own idea that this is what it means, like that. He has to rely upon certain texts in which such a meaning has been interpreted. And those texts he needs to quote in the bhashyam, that I have relied on these texts in order to arrive at this particular meaning. It is just like, those of you who have a legal profession, what happens in a court. A lawyer cannot make a legal point. He has to say on what basis he is making the legal point. What is the interpretation which has been taken by other courts or other judges and all that. He has to quote all of them in order to sustain his argument. Similarly, a bhashyam also, a bhashyakara, whoever writes the bhashyam, has to quote all these things. Therefore, Adi Shankaracharya extensively quotes from Puranas, from Vedas, from Bhagavad Gita, the Smriti Granthas. Extensively he quotes. For each sloka, you will find sometimes 40, 50 quotations. In order to just prove one point or establish one particular meaning, he will quote so many things. It is said, the same thing is said here, same thing is said there. In Vishnu Purana it is said, in this Purana it is said, in Bhagavad Gita it is said. Like that, he will go quote, very extensively. It's very nice, very good intellectual material for us to read and understand. But the problem is, if I go word by word, then this Vishnu Sahasranamam classes will go on and on and on. It will probably take years for us to complete. So what I will do is, I think I should mute everybody. One request, please make sure that you're all muting yourself, because some background noise comes. Okay. So what I will do is, I will go through the bhashyam written by Adi Shankara, and I will select a few quotations or few support material which he has quoted. Suppose he has quoted some Vishnu Purana, 10 slokas from Vishnu Purana. I may probably pick up one or two and then explain it on that basis. So that will make it more compact so far as our teaching is concerned, right? And I will give the meanings of those selected verses also, right? So the purpose of these talks is to explain the bhashyam. It's not to explain the bhashyam word by word, rather, but at the same time not lose the flavor of a bhashyam. It's beautiful. I mean, if you are accustomed, of if you are used to, if you have learned how to read a bhashyam, It's a very nice intellectual exercise. So much knowledge is there in this bhashyams, right? So we will use that for the interpretation of the 1,000 names of Lord Mahavishnu, right? And when we talk of scriptures or Shastra and all, we generally refer to four sources. The most important are Mula Grantha, the root of all our scriptures is the Veda, which is also called Shruti. So, Shruti or Veda is the first source for all our scriptural knowledge. Then follows the Smriti Granthas. And one of the important feature of the Shruti, which I have told in other classes also, is this Shruti is not a man-made text at all. We believe that these Shrutis, these Vedas, were given to us by Lord Himself at the beginning of this creation. So when the creation started, and then when there was a need for a roadmap for all the beings to pursue, to live, these Vedas were given. And they are like in yesterday's class, I explained about Purusharthas and all that. All these Vedas contain so many prescriptions, and you can literally say a roadmap for everybody's life, to lead everybody, lead a happy life for everybody, fulfilled life. Then comes the Smriti Granthas. Smriti Granthas, by their name, means Smriti means remembrance. So, Smriti Granthas are the Granthas which are based on the Vedas but written by human beings. They are not divine, they are human. So, when it comes to a divine scripture, we can say that they are infallible. There cannot be any mistake at all. Whereas that same kind of degree, same degree of infallibility, we cannot attach to the Smriti Granthas. And we have got many Smriti Granthas like Yajnavalkya Smriti, Manusmriti, most talked about these days. Bhagavad Gita itself is a Smriti Grantha written by Veda Vyasa as a part of Mahabharata. Right? So these are the Smriti Granthas, the second layer. And in the third layer, we have got the Puranas. There are 18 Puranas which Veda Vyasa has written, of which Bhagavata Purana is the most popular these days. It has been made popular in the last few 2-3 decades rather. So there are a lot this Bhagavata Saptaham held in all over various places. Lot of people attend to it. So this is the third layer, which are the Puranas rather. And the fourth layer is Itihasa. And by Itihasa, we mainly refer to Ramayana and Mahabharata. These are the two Itihasas we refer to. But mind you, the message contained in all these scriptural texts is the same. Except that in Vedas, in the Shruti, it is very concentrated. Then when it comes to the Smriti Granthas, like the Bhagavad Gita and all, some degree of dilution takes place of the message. Then when you come to the Puranas, there is more dilution. In fact, an angle of entertainment on stories and all are added to the Puranas. And unfortunately, because of that, many people focus only on the stories and not the message of the Puranas. That is a negative or the flip side of this approach. And Itihasas also, Ramayana, Mahabharata also, they all contain the same message which is there in the Vedas. And then they highlight certain values for the human beings to follow. For example, Taittiriya Upanishad says, Matru Devo Bhava, Pitru Devo Bhava. That is, you must take your father and mother as gods, divinity. And Ramayana is all about that only. Matru Devo Bhava, Pitru Devo Bhava. Lord Rama considered his father and his mother Kaikeyi as his, as his masters, and He followed their words rather. So just two words in Taittiriya Upanishad, Matru Devo Bhava, Pitru Devo Bhava, one whole Ramayana tells that story. And our spiritual journey in life starts with this itihasas only, with Ramayana, Mahabharata, because they are beautiful stories, very nice stories are there. Ramayana is a very, very, uh, what would I say, it's a very interesting story for children to listen. So we introduce our children to these characters, Ramayana, Hanuman, all these characters we introduce. Hanuman has got a very beautiful smiling face. One of the favorite deities of children, Hanuman. Similarly, Ganesha, because of his, this elephant face, he is also very, very uh, popular with children rather. So we introduce our children through this Itihasa and this Mahabharata and Ramayana, so that at their level of intellect, at their age of maturity, these things will go inside, they will understand it little bit if we tell them rather in a story form. And through that, certain values which we have to follow in our life are also inculcated in the children. So this is the background of this way, the spiritual journey. It starts with the itihasas, and then you graduate to Puranas. Once you have done with the Puranas, you graduate to the Smriti Granthas, and most important of that, Bhagavad Gita. And then eventually you come to the Upanishads and the knowledge which is contained in the Upanishads. So this is the spiritual journey that is undertaken, right? And one important aspect which our scriptures tell us is that what we take ourselves to be, this body mind complex, we are under a delusion, we are under a very, very serious misconception about it. And what they say is, you actually are different from your body mind sense complex. You are the resident in your body mind complex, but you are not the body mind complex. This is one of the basic fundamental things which Vedanta says. And Vedanta further says that all your miseries, all your problems in your life is because of this mistaken identity. Your strong identity with your body mind complex and your disidentification with what your real nature is. That is what is the reason for all your problems, miseries, and grief in your life. Therefore, what the Vedanta scriptures say is that if you want to get rid of all these miseries and problems in your life, you must disidentify yourself from this body mind complex, and at the same time, build a strong identification with your real nature. That is what the Vedanta says. Why I am saying all these things is because Adi Shankara's approach to Vishnu Sahasranamam is Advaita Vedanta Siddhanta. It's based on Advaita Vedanta. And in order to understand many of these interpretations which he has given, we need to have a little bit background of Advaita Vedanta. Many of you have got, I know that. But for those who do not have any background of what Advaita Vedanta is about, this introduction will be helpful as we proceed. Rather, you will be able to understand this much better. So, scriptures say that we, the Atma, scriptures call that as our original nature, real nature as the Atma. Atma means in Sanskrit self. There is also another meaning called inner essence. The core essence is also called Atma. So, Atma, you can take any meaning, the self or the core essence of all of us is not this body mind complex. It's not this physical body. This physical body is only a temporary abode for purposes of this life. And when this physical body falls, this Atma with certain other stuff which is inside us travels and takes up another body. So for that Atma, there is no death. What is death is only for physical body. And that is what in Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan Krishna says, Vasamsi Jirnani Yata Vihaya. That shloka is there. So, like we discard the old clothes and don new clothes, similarly, this Atma also discards this body and takes up a new body, depending upon one's own karma, all that kind of things. So, this is what is the basis of Vedanta. And we must understand that our real nature is not this body mind complex, and all our problems in life are because of this. So we need to disidentify from our with our body mind complex, right? And so what the scriptures say is that when you are thinking that you are actually dying, you are not dying at all. It is your body which is dying. You have no death. You have in fact no birth. You have no death. You are Ajaha, you are Nityam. Ajaha means unborn. Nityam means eternally living, always living. That is what you are. Unfortunately, don't know that. If you want to know that, come to Vedanta. No, read the scriptures, then you will get this knowledge. And this is what is called self-knowledge or Atma Jnanam, as we call it. And what the scriptures further says, once you get this self-knowledge, doubtless self-knowledge, clear of all sorts of samshaya, doubt, and then you abide in this knowledge, then you won't even have another birth. That is what is the scriptures are saying. This will be your last birth. In the birth in which you acquire the self-knowledge and start abiding in that knowledge, your purpose of journey is over. All this travel business from one body to another body and all will be ended. So you will actually have no further body to be taken. So no more troubles, no more grief, nothing will be there. This is what the scriptures say. Right? So all these things, the scriptures say, so your goal in life should be to get this Atma Jnana so that you can avoid another birth. This is what the Upadesha of the scriptures is. And they are contained in the Vedas. Vedanta basically means the end part of Vedas, Upanishads, which is called Vedanta. And to teach that that is the goal of life and what are the means for achieving that goal is the aim of not only the Vedas but all the scriptures which I referred to earlier. And Mahabharatam happens to be one of those scriptures where this entire scheme is laid out. And Mahabharata, actually, we are aware of four Vedas. Adi Shankara calls Mahabharata Panchamo Veda. He actually gives Mahabharata a title of the fifth Veda because it contains the profound knowledge throughout Mahabharata, which is contained in the Vedas. Right? And this Mahabharatam, it contains, says that 1 lakh slokas, 100,000 slokas. Can you imagine somebody writing 100,000 slokas? And that is why it is also called Shatasahasri. Shatasahasri means 100,000. Literally that. Okay. But actually speaking, it contains only about 96,000 shlokas. But in parlance, it is said 1 lakh slokas, 1 lakh slokas, rounding off to the next higher. But there is one more text which is considered to be part of Mahabharata, which is called Harivamsha Purana. If you include Harivamsha Purana also in that, then it will cross more than 1 lakh shlokas, right? So this Mahabharata is a very exalted scripture. And Adi Shankara from that Mahabharata has picked up 3 topics and has written a detailed commentary or a bhashyam on all 3 of them. The first one is what is called Sanat Sujatiyam. Sanat Sujatiyam is the Upadesha given by Sanat Kumara to Dhritarashtra. This is Sanat Sujatiyam. Many of us even don't know such a thing exists in Mahabharata because we have never read Mahabharata completely. And the second one is, which is there in Mahabharata, is the Bhagavad Gita. So Bhagavad Gita also Adi Shankara has written a very profound, detailed commentary. And the third topic which he has written a detailed commentary is Vishnu Sahasranama, which is also part of Mahabharata. And we know that this Bhagavad Gita was the Upadesha given by Lord Krishna himself to Arjuna, and the Vishnu Sahasranama is the Upadesha given by Bhishmacharya to Dhritarashtra. Not Dhritarashtra, to Yudhishthira, sorry, to Yudhishthira, Dharmaputra. So this Vishnu Sahasranama is a advice or a Upadesha given by Bhishmacharya when he was lying in a bed of arrows. Actually, he has been, he was in his deathbed, literally. But because he had a boon that he can choose the time of his death, he was waiting for the Uttarayana, to be born so that he can leave this body. So till such time he was lying in the bed of arrows. And it was in that state that this Vishnu Sahasranama Upadesha he gave to Yudhishthira. Right? And Bhishma was known for his knowledge of the Dharma Shastra. Thorough knowledge of Dharma Shastra he knew. And as it is explained, what happens is, after the Kurukshetra war is over, Yudhishthira has been crowned the king and all that. But Yudhishthira is very sad. He is very depressed. So what happens is Krishna sees this. And Krishna being Antaryami, he knows everything. Why this fellow is depressed. Yudhishthira is depressed because he feels that for the sake of this kingdom, for the sake of this throne, so many people have died. So many people have been killed. Was it all worth this? Even though he is a Dharmaputra, the whole Mahabharata war, Kurukshetra war was called a Dharma Yuddham. They were very clear. I mean, all the Pandavas were very clear why they were fighting. They were not fighting for the sake of this kingdom. They were fighting for the establishment of Dharma. Because all the Kauravas led by this Duryodhana and also the father, that Dhritarashtra, they were indulging all sorts of adharmic activities. And which was not good for the entire cosmos, rather. It will tilt the balance of the cosmos and make the, it will actually create a huge problem. And that is why Krishna says, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyuttanam adharmasya tadatmanam srijamyaham. So, in order to remove all the adharma, I will take birth. And that's Krishna's avatara is for that purpose only. in Mahabharata. That is how the connection is. But even despite all knowing all these things, Yudhishthira is sad because of so many people have died. And which happens to all of us. Rather. We may be very clear, but at some stage, some lingering doubt will always be there in our mind. It's the human tendency. Rather. Krishna understands it. In fact, before this happened, Krishna has given the full Upadesha to Arjuna about Atma Jnanam and all these things. All that Krishna needed to do was repeat that. But Krishna doesn't do that. You know why? Very important point Krishna establishes for us all to understand. Whenever you are giving an advice to anybody, you must make sure that that advice will go and sit in that person's mind and intellect, and he will understand it. Otherwise, all the advice that you give is waste, and that's what happens most of us. Rather, we think that we are doing good things for our children and we keep on advising them, but it doesn't go inside because they don't consider you to be their teacher. Many times we have seen that if we want to advise something to our child, we will tell somebody else to advise. Somebody else on whom the child has got some amount of respect. We'll say, please tell him, then he will listen. Krishna told everything to Arjuna because Krishna and Arjuna were very thick friends. Krishna did not enjoy such a relationship with Yudhishthira. So, what Krishna does, he knows that if I tell all these things again, one more Bhagavad Gita, if I give to Yudhishthira, it will be waste. Arjuna, Arjuna also had lot of doubts. The whole Bhagavad Gita is all about Arjuna raising doubts and Krishna clarifying it, and in the process giving him Atma Jnana. But Krishna knows that Yudhishthira, it will not work. But Krishna knows that Yudhishthira has got a very high regard for Bhishmacharya. And Krishna understands that Yudhishthira is now what we call is a Dharma Sankata. He is having some confusion about Dharma, whether what happened was right or wrong. And that is what is actually depressing, and that is what is troubling his mind rather. So what Krishna does, he tells Yudhishthira, I can understand your problem. Let us do one thing. Bhishma Pitamaha, on whom you have got very high regard, he is still alive. He is just lying on the bed of arrows waiting to leave this body. And he is the encyclopedia of Dharma. Let us go to him and ask him. You can ask all your doubts to him. So that is the background in which Krishna and Yudhishthira, they go to Bhishmacharya. And then Yudhishthira, at the beginning of Vishnu Sahasranamam, the 6 questions which Yudhishthira raises to Bhishmacharya, Vishnu Sahasranamam begins with that questions in Mahabharata. So this background we need to understand as to what this Vishnu Sahasranamam is. It's an advice, Upadesha given by Bhishmacharya to Yudhishthira. But having said that, originally this advice was given by somebody else. I'll come to that later. So that Bhishmacharya got, and then he advised Yudhishthira. This is how the background is. And coming to Adi Shankara writing this commentary, there are a few interesting stories about that also. I don't know whether they are true or not. They are all coming, like in the parampara people tell. But they may be true also. So it is said that one of the stories, when Adi Shankara had completed his studies and all that, he wanted to start writing commentaries. But that's what an Acharya will do. Right? He will write commentary, present it to the world, because he would have read all other commentaries and all that, and he would be wanting to write a new commentary, because he may feel that all other commentaries are not exactly conveying what is to be conveyed, the central message of the scriptures. So when he thought of writing this commentary, he called one of his sishyas and told him he wanted to write a commentary on Taittiriya Upanishad to start with. Uh-oh. I don't know whether the... So Taittiriya Upanishad to start with, he wanted to write the commentary. So he asked the Sishya, go there in some place where all the scriptures are kept, pick up the Taittiriya Upanishad scripture and bring it to me. So the Sishya went and he brought Vishnu Sahasranamam script. Adi Shankara said, no, this is not what I wanted. You please go and bring Taittiriya Upanishad. So he went and kept that Vishnu Sahasranamam back, and some other shelf he brought one more script, and which also turned out to be another copy of Vishnu Sahasranamam. And this happened 2-3 times. So Adi Shankara felt that it is Daiva Chittam, that is Daiva, the Lord's wish that I should write commentary on Vishnu Sahasranamam, not Taittiriya Upanishad. And that is why this Vishnu Sahasranamam is being presented to me again and again. So this is one story. So that is the background. They say that Adi Shankara wrote the commentary on Vishnu Sahasranamam, first commentary which he wrote. Right. There is another story. It says that after completing his study, Adi Shankara went to his guru. Gaudapadacharya was his guru, or Govindapadacharya. Govindapadacharya was his guru. He went to him and told him that now I completed the study. I want to write bhashyam. I want to write commentaries. His guru was not very, very sure whether Adi Shankara has actually reached that stage of being capable of writing commentaries on Vedanta and all the Upanishads and all that. But at the same time, the Sishya is asking something, so he didn't want to say no to him. So he told him, okay, you want to write commentary, fine. You do one thing, you write a commentary on Vishnu Sahasranam. I will see that, and if I find that to be a good work, then you can further, write more commentaries. So they say that it is because of the Guru's Agnya that he wrote this Vishnu Sahasranamam commentary as the first commentary. And after reading this Vishnu Sahasranamam commentary, his Guru said, this is so profound that you can even write a commentary on Brahma Sutra now. He gave him permission. Brahma Sutra, mind you, is a PhD level Vedanta text written by Vyasacharya. Very cryptic. For us to understand, it's impossible unless you have the commentary. And detailed commentary is there of Adi Shankara. So he gave him permission, and that is how another story, that this is the background. Anyhow, these are all, Vidvat Manoranjan, not very relevant. But the background, how Shankaracharya came to write this commentary on Vishnu Sahasranama, I just wanted to explain rather, right? And that is why, for Shankaracharya, these two are very, very dear to him. One is Bhagavad Gita and Vishnu Sahasranama. And that's why in Bhajagovindam he says, Geyam Gita Nama Sahasram. Every day you should do Parayanam of Vishnu Sahasranamam and Bhagavad Gita. He is giving the Upadesha, right? So, as I said, the ancient rishis who received these scriptures and all, and they were given us as guidance. These scriptures guide us through our life for us to achieve our goals in life. And as I also told you that the Shastras tell that the birth and death relate only to our body, and we are the temporary residents in this body. That also I have told, right? And also that Shastras say our ultimate goal in life should be to put an end to this traveling business so that you get moksha. You get totally free from this cycle of births and deaths. And also, we will talk about that also from samsara, what Shastra describes as samsara. So, janma samsara bandhanat muchyate. You have to, that is, should be your goal in life. This is what the Shastras say. And that is why what we have to do is that as long as this body is there, we must put it to very good use for us to achieve that ultimate goal of our life, rather, in this life itself. We have to pursue the spiritual path, rather. And as I said, the scriptures also say that all these miseries you are enjoying is because of your self ignorance and self misconception and all that, rather. And it is emphasized in the Upanishads, it is emphasized in Bhagavad Gita also, and which actually takes us, in fact, Bhagavad Gita is more relevant, takes us through all the preparatory steps that we need to do for this Atma Jnanam, for this gaining this self knowledge, rather. And of course, in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna defines this moksha, or the what you can say, the essence of the self knowledge as sarvatma bhava, having the same attitude towards everything in this entire universe. Sarvatma bhava, he says. And we can achieve that only if we have sufficient chitta shuddhi. Chitta shuddhi means removing all the impurities which are there in our mind, in our antakarana. Our antakarana means internal instruments. It consists of four things: chitta, buddhi, ahankara, and manas. So mind, intellect, which is buddhi, then ahankara, the ego, and chittam, which is the storehouse of all the information that we have. So, what the scriptures say is that you need to first work on purification of your internal, all these instruments, especially your mind and intellect. Your ego needs to be neutralized to a large extent, rather. All this is a preparatory stage for you to get into Atma Jnana. Otherwise, that Atma Jnanam will not come anywhere near you, or you will never go near the Atma Jnana. And most importantly, the Chitta Shuddhi is very, very necessary, as I told you, for neutralizing your ego. Because all our problems again are directly related to our ego only. Ahankara and Mamakara. I am, and this is mine. This is our, the root cause of all our problems. So in order, we have to neutralize that, and that impurities which are there in our mind, we have to remove those impurities, rather, for which we have to do certain sadhanas, certain exercises. If we want to have a six-pack ab, we do exercise, isn't it? Muscled body and all. Similarly, if you want to have a 6 or 8 pack manas antakarana, you have to do certain exercises. Spiritual exercises, not physical exercises. Physical exercises, yoga and all are helpful, rather. You have to do that. But more importantly, we have to do, spiritual exercises, rather. Right? Because this ahankara can be neutralized only under one circumstance, if you actually observe. I'll give you an example. Many of us we are from corporate world, we have worked in companies and things like that and all. We have been bosses of people, we have managed people. And when we have managed the people, what has been our experience of dealing with people? What is what has been our behavior? Our behavior is, I am the boss. I will tell you what to do. You better do it. Otherwise, I will, as I have hired you, I will fire you also. From where this behavior comes? It is our ego. I am the boss. Isn't it? Now, when this is there happening on one side, our own boss comes, the big boss. Before him, what will be our attitude? He will say, sir, yes, sir, whatever you are saying, I will do. Where did the ego go? Here you said, I am the boss, and before your boss, you are a subordinate. You have completely sublated your ego before him, because you know if you talk back to him, he will throw you out. The same dialogue you told your subordinate, he will tell you. So, what does this show? That in front of a higher power, only we can actually start diluting this ego. So, in the presence of the Lord, who is the boss of all, it is possible for us to start diluting this ego. So, we need to have a continuous presence before the Lord. Rather, that is why Puja Swamiji used to say that those who have in the spiritual path, they need to bring more and more Ishvara into their life. That is very, very important. The more and more Ishvara you bring into your life, your ego, ahankara, will start diluting rather. Because you are always conscious that you are in the presence of a higher power, Ishvara. And one of the ways of bringing more and more Ishvara, or sure ways of bringing more and more Ishvara in our life, is the regular chanting of this Vishnu Sahasranamam, Vishnu Sahasranama Sutra. If we chant this stotram regularly and with the understanding of the meaning of each nama, our ego, our ahankara will gradually start reducing, and we will attain more and more chitta shuddhi. And this is very much necessary as a preparatory step for gaining Atma Jnanam, as I told you, especially in this Kali Yuga. Sorry. I think everybody is muted. Yeah. So, especially in this Kali Yuga, many of you would have heard this sloka from Bhagavata Purana. Kalau kalmasha chittanam papadravyopajeevinam vidikriya vihinanam gatir govinda kirtanam. What this sloka says is that in this Kali Yuga, the mind of the people will be filled with lot of impurities. Kalau kalmasha chittanam. Kalmasham will be there, lot of them. Then papadravyopajeevinam, they will lead a life with the help of resources which have been gained through sinful means, not dharmic. Adharmic way you earn resources and you lead a life with those resources. Papadravyopajeevinam. Vidikriya vihinanam. In the Kali Yuga, people will not follow what all the scriptural injunctions are. They will not do anything. They will not do puja. They will not do sandhya vandanam. They will not do anything. They will go away and away and away from this. These are all the Kali Yuga lakshanas which the Bhagavatam describes. And then finally it says, Gatir Govinda Kirtanam. For all these people, the only way out is to sing the praises of the Lord. Simple way. Without getting into complex things like self-knowledge and all. Bhagavata Purana says just to take the name of the Lord. Just do Sahasranama Parayana. If you don't want to do Sahasranama Parayanam, just to say Rama Krishna, Rama Krishna, Rama Krishna. That is enough. Because The biggest problem in Kali Yuga is this ego. So, what this mantra or this sloka says is that this is the way forward. Now, this sloka is misunderstood by many people. They say that this sloka says that you will get moksha by if you do this. That is the way out. That is not what this sloka says. Because if that is the case, then all our Upanishads, what they are saying, will all be rendered false, rather. And Purana is a lower degree of, literature, rather, as compared to the Vedas and Upanishads. What this sloka says is that by doing this, you will get more and more chitta shuddhi. And it will prepare you for getting this Atma Jnanam, getting this spiritual inclination in your life. That is why Gatir Govinda Kirtanam, go on, chanting, singing the praise of the Lord. Sorry. So, this sloka does not mean that you will get moksha, but it certainly means that you will know the route to moksha. You will be given, you will get the inclination or the idea as to how to go about seeking moksha. So, taking the name of the Lord repeatedly, singing his glories, is the only way to purify this mind in the Kali Yuga. Right? Even if you are not doing anything else. Because Sandhya Vandana Karma and all was mainly meant for Chitta Shuddhi only. But if you are not doing that, at least take the Lord's name. Chant Vishnu Sahasranama daily. That is what is said. And so Vishnu Sahasranama Parayanam is one of the methods, one of the ways in which we can gain more and more Chitta Shuddhi. One of the effective means to for purification of our mind. And we can relate an example. For example, we tell our children in the school final, if you get very good marks, you can become a collector. Isn't it? Many of us would have done that. Get good marks, study well, and get very good high marks, then you will become a collector. Does it mean that in the high school final, if he gets good marks, he will become a collector? It doesn't mean that. What it means is that if you get good marks, then you will be eligible to get admission in a very good university or a college, and then you will get very good education, and through that education you will have an opportunity to become a collector also. This is what we mean. That does not mean that if you just score high marks you will become a collector, but that's what we say. Similarly here also, Gatir Govinda Kirtana means you keep chanting it. That does not mean that you will get moksha, but it will certainly prepare you for the moksha purushartha, for reaching the goal of moksha in your life. Right? But the Parayanam has to be very sincere and genuine. It should not be like, I am doing Vishnu Sahasranama Parayanam, all of you keep quiet. I am doing Vishnu Sahasranama Parayanam and you all listen. All this kind of ego business should not come into that. Sincere prayer you have to offer to the Lord, at the same time enjoying, appreciating all the glories of the Lord, which is there in the Vishnu Sahasranam, 1000 names of Vishnu Sahasranam. Right? So this chanting of this Vishnu Sahasranamam will prepare us for that highest knowledge, which is the knowledge of the self. Which is the highest knowledge. In fact, Upanishad says, once you have got that knowledge, there is nothing more to know. That's it. End of the story, rather. So that is the highest knowledge. And while chanting, if we understand the meaning also, it will be very useful for us to understand Ishvara. Because you must all note one thing. Our culture, our religion is not a faith-based religion. We don't believe that there is a God. What our exercise in our religion is to understand what is God, what is Ishvara. That is why all these scriptures, they are all focusing on understanding Ishvara and not trying to tell you that whether you like it or not, you believe there is a God and that God is sitting somewhere in some heaven and all that. We don't say that at all. So this process of this Parayanam, with understanding each and every nama, will reveal the glory of the Lord in so many ways, rather. 1,000 ways we can enjoy and experience the glory of the Lord, rather. Okay. So these talks, as I told you, will cover all the 1,000 names based on the Bhashyam of Adi Shankara, and which of course has been handed to us by Puja Swami Dayanand Saraswati. He has written a very nice book on that. And also I have been listening to Swami Omkarananda's talks also. So there are inputs which will come from that talks also. Because you see, all the gurus in the parampara are only like loudspeakers. Whatever the person with the mic speaks, they are all broadcast all over the place. So anybody who is teaching in the parampara will only be teaching what his gurus have taught him, what he has learned from his gurus. There is nothing that I can add from my own side. I am not capable of doing that. I have to rely only on what I have learned. So that learning, maximum I can do is I can actually quote some 1 or 2 examples which come into my mind, for which I feel will be more useful for understanding a particular aspect. Other than that, the essence of it cannot be changed. So we are all just like loudspeakers. The same thing will be broadcast. So I have actually learned this Vishnu Sahasranama, and that I will be sharing it with you. And this Vishnu Sahasranama, these talks will be divided into 3 sections. One is a Purva Bhaga, which is the introductory portion, which starts with Shuklam Bharadharam, those slokas and all. Many of you know that. And which also talks about the background, which I told you about how this Vishnu Sahasranama Upadesha was given by Bhishmacharya to Yudhishthira. And then the second part is the 1,000 names, the stotra part of it, 1,000 names of Lord Vishnu. And the Uttara Bhaga, which talks about the Phalashruti, these are the results of chanting this Vishnu Sahasranama. And in the Phalashruti, we will have a lot of what we call Arthavada, glorification of Vishnu Sahasranama and all that. We will see all that when we come to that. And also there will be some sprinkling of Sanskrit grammar throughout my talks, rather. Because the whole Bhashyam is in Sanskrit, so I can't avoid it, but I will try to keep it to the minimum so that people who are not exposed to Sanskrit will not feel unease, It will be like what we do, this coriander leaves or the curry leaves we put in sambar and dal and all that, just to give a flavor. It won't be the mainstay of the of the talks, rather, right? But those who don't know Sanskrit at all, they need not worry. I will explain each and every word in English also, rather, right? So with that, we will stop today and we will continue in the next class. I'll say the prayers, and if anybody wants to ask any question, can raise that question. Okay. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you all very much. Any questions are there? I'll be very happy to take.
Thank you. Yes, I have a comment. When I'm listening to you, it was like Ganga Pravaham.
Thank you very much.
That's what I felt. Non-stop. It was. Thank you.
I hope it was not too fast for people to follow.
No, that's okay. Like
no, Guruji. Thank you.
Thank you.
Raghuji.
Thank you, Guruji.
Thank you.
Just like Bhagirathi,
Okay, thanks. As I always say, if you like what you are hearing, it is all the credit goes to my gurus. It is their
Yes, yes.
grace on me. It is Lord's grace which enables me to share all these things with you in a manner that some people appreciate. So it's all Guru's grace and
It's
Ishwara's
Bhagavan's grace that we have come to you.
Everybody's
Raghuji,
grace.
it's Bhagavan's
That is
grace that
true.
we have.
Very true. For spiritual path, you require nothing. As I said, yesterday's class, I told you, those who are there in Tattva Bodha class, rather, I told,
Yes.
you get all these things only by Bhagavan's grace, rather. So without that, nothing will happen in this entire world. So anyhow, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Namaste,
Thank you.
Guruji.
Namaskara.
Namaste, Guruji.
We will continue in the next
Namaste,
Sunday.
Guruji.
We will continue. Okay.
Dhanyavad,
Thank you.
Mahadaya.
Thank you.
Hari
Namaste,
Namaste, Guruji.
Hari
Dhanyawad.
Namaskaram.
Dhanyavad.
Namaskar, Mama.
Thank you.
Namaskaram. Namaskaram. Thank you.
Thank you. Namaskaram.
Hari Om.